Hello everyone, my name is XiaoPing. I'm the Managing Director of XP Education. Thanks again for subscribing to our YouTube channel. And today I'm presenting you guys with the week 3 and 4 contents in terms of Introductory Microeconomics. So in this short clip, I'm going to talk about the government regulations and also how does it impact the market, yes? Now first of all, I want to talk about is that whenever the market is in equilibrium, yeah? So quantity on the x-axis and we have price on the vertical axis, yes? So we have supply and we have demand, yes? Now we know that whenever the market is in equilibrium, the price will be P star and the quantity will be Q star, okay? Now how does this work? Now remember, if the market is already efficient, yes, i.e. at P star and Q star, any government intervention will be a welfare loss on the market, yes? So remember, when the market is already efficient, any government intervention will lead to some sort of a welfare loss, which I will show you guys later in a welfare analysis. So what are the type of the typical government regulations that we talk about? The first one is obviously the price ceiling. The next one is a price floor. Okay, we have some sort of a tax, could be a unit tax, could be a lump sum tax, and then of course we have some sort of a quota, yes? So there are 4 main regulations that a government can impose on the market, yes? Now, price ceiling, what exactly is it? Price ceiling can think about as your roof, right? Once the price hits the roof, it stops. It cannot go beyond the roof, yes? So this means that the price ceiling should be set below, yes? The P star. Are we clear? So when the price goes up, once it hits the price ceiling, then it stops. Because if you put the price ceiling above, then there's no point, right? Because once you hit P star, it's going to stop anyway, okay? Now, vice versa, in terms of price floor, the price floor should be set above, yes? The P star, which means that this is our P floor. If the price want to come down and return to equilibrium conditions, right? Once it hit the floor, it cannot go lower, yes? And obviously taking an effect on the market. Now, a typical example in terms of price floor could be like a minimum wage, yes? Whereby you have to pay above the market prices for your labor force, okay? So make sure you understand that price floor should be set above the P star and price ceiling should be set below the P star, okay? Now, the next one I do want to talk about is the implication of taxes, okay? Now, we can tax the consumers, but we can also tax the suppliers, okay? Now, one of the classical examples that you can do is that we should tax on the supplier because by taxing the suppliers, it makes their production more expensive and obviously they will pass on this degree of taxation towards the consumers depending on the elasticity of the demand curve, yes? And such model makes a lot more sense. Think about cigarette producers, yes? You're not going to tax the consumers directly because you're going to tax on the cigarette producers and in effect, they will pass on that tax towards the consumers based on the elasticity of the demand, yes? So let's do an example on the taxation on the suppliers, okay? So, whenever you guys are asked to do a particular analysis, it is always important that you guys draw some beautiful diagrams, yes? So, on the x-axis, we have the quantity. On the vertical axis, we have the price, yes? And then we have the S0, and we have a downward sloping D0, yes? Now, this intersection will be our equilibrium price, call this P star, and take the point down, this will be our equilibrium quantity, yes, which is Q star, okay? Now, whenever we tax on the suppliers, yes, this means that we are making their productions more costly. So if we tax the suppliers, the supply curve should be decreased, yes? So the supply curve will shift towards the left or upwards to reflect the magnitude of this unit tax. I am talking about the unit tax, yes? So this vertical gap here is of course our unit taxation, okay? Now because supply is reduced as a result of the taxation, being the consumers, you pay PC, right? You pay a higher price and of course take a vertical line down and this is the price that is being received by the producers, okay? Now you can see that from this vertical gap, from this dot to this dot, yes? this vertical gap here is obviously the magnitude of the taxation, okay? Now you got to think about it. P star is the original price. So let's put some figures on these numbers, yes? So imagine P star is $10, okay? And PC is $12, for example, okay? And then PP is like $8, okay? So for example, the tax is, is $4, okay? Now you can see the original price is actually equal to $10. Being the consumer, now you pay $2 extra, yes? And now the producers, you receive $2 less. Now, which means that the burden of the taxation, which is $4, will be split evenly, yes, among the consumers and the producers, okay? Now, just make things a lot more interesting. Now, what happens if the demand curve is more inelastic? Now, if it's more inelastic, how it's going to work is that the demand curve is going to be a lot more steeper. Can we all see that? So the black line, yes? Now, as you can see, if the demand curve is a lot more steeper, yes? Now, this means that the price change will actually reflect upwards, and this will lead to a situation whereby the consumers will be paying a bigger proportionate of the taxation, which is here, and the producers will only pay a small positioning of the taxation. And this is exactly referring back to what I was talking about earlier about the proportion of the taxes being passed on towards the consumers will depend on the elasticity of the demand curve. Now, obviously, more inelastic means people need this, yes? And the producers can easily pass this tax towards the consumers, okay? Now, apart from the tax, there is another regulation called the quota, yes? Now, how does a quota work? So, quota is what we call a quantity restriction, yes? Because we try to restrict the amount of quantity that is being produced in the market, yes? Now, as always, it's always very important to draw yourself a nice diagram. So we have quantity on the x-axis, and we have price on the vertical axis, okay? So we have supply curve, which is upward sloping, and demand curve is downward sloping. And this intersection here will be our P star, and here we have our Q star, okay? So whenever we try to have some sort of a quota, yes? Now, quota is what we call the quantity restriction, okay? Now, we want to restrict the quantity by going towards Q star. So which means that a quota means the quantity should be lower than the Q star, yes? Otherwise, what's the point, okay? So, for example, if the quota is represented by the red line, yes? So this is a quota. The government says that this is the only amount of quantity I want to see. Now, typically, this can be thought like a carbon emission, yes? So for example, the amount of carbon dioxide that you can pollute in this economy, okay? Now, this means that whenever we have a quota, this means that the supply curve goes from the origin and then go right up towards the quota, yeah? So you can take away this bottom line to make it clear, okay? So we say that supply curve will supply up to this quantity and then bang, it becomes inelastic because it cannot produce more than this quantity, okay? Now, if you look at this, if the supply curve, or this is what we call the effective supply curve, yes, is being tilted up, the price that you pay is actually called PC. Can we all see that? Now, this means that because the price escalates, yes, when we have a quantity, now this means that having some sort of a pollution quota is actually quite valuable. So the price will be spiked up quite highly. And that again depends on this elasticity of the demand curve as well. Yeah, now can we just follow my hand? If the demand curve is highly inelastic, yes, this means that the price will be shot up even higher, okay? So a production quota is obviously a restriction on the quantity, yes? And of course, as I said, it will lead to some sort of a welfare loss later. So essentially in this video, I talked about the different variations from a price ceiling, a price floor, a unit tax, and also a production quota. Now, in our next video, we'll talk about in terms of how do we conduct exactly a welfare analysis. Now, thanks again for watching our YouTube channel. I appreciate your attendance, and if you would like to subscribe, please do click the subscribe button and share with your friends. So in our next video, I will go through the welfare analysis in terms of showing exactly why, if the market is actually in equilibrium, then any government intervention will lead to some sort of a welfare loss. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye-bye.